We really wanted to make a dent in COVID, if we really wanted to change the path of why people are dying, we would have said, let's fast, let's change our nutrition, and we, guess what, would have less outcomes of death associated with COVID. But no, we didn't. We said, hey, take this pill, take this shot, you're going to hopefully have a better outcome. The outcomes are pretty simple. If you don't have chronic disease, you're probably not going to die from COVID.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Barrett. I'm a board-certified chiropractic physician with a passion and emphasis in functional nutrition. We can't wait to add value to your health as well as the health of your family. Thanks for listening in to the Real Health Podcast.
Hey, before we jump into today's episode, do me a favor. If you like this episode and you like hearing from Dr. B, share it on your Facebook, share it on your Instagram. We're really trying to get this health movement out. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Dr. B. This is your host, Lane. I'm standing here with Dr. B in between shifts. Dr. B, welcome to the Real Health, your podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
You're stuck with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for having you on your own podcast. Well, everyone got a break from me last week, and I have to say, you did a really amazing job with Carrie.
Oh, well, I've just been watching you.
You did fantastic. And if you haven't listened to that episode on the Pillar of Health, pelvic floor, with pelvic floor coach Carrie Gandy, make sure you pause this episode. If it relates to you, go back and listen to it. And I know that there's been a lot of good feedback from that episode. So,
great feedback.
Yeah, great feedback that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard as well. So we're going to continue on Pillar of Health. We've had 4 or 5 episodes this year, and they've continued to build on each other, and they've been really good. Mm-hmm. And they've been shorter podcasts that have added a ton of value. So kudos to you, and I know today's going to be even better.
Yeah, this is a pillar of health that I think everyone needs to implement in their daily living. And we're going to talk about fasting as a massive pillar in health building, health creation, longevity, anti-aging, healing the body inside out, reducing inflammation, helping the brain heal. And it just keeps going on and on. It's like everyone complains about things being healthy are expensive. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? This costs nothing. You actually save money. The problem is you've got to grind a little bit mentally. Mm-hmm. But if we stair-step this properly and build you into a lifestyle of fasting, it can be transformational. And there's also people that should fast, and we're going to communicate. There are people that should not fast. So who's who, what's what, that's today.
Before we jump into that episode, I do want to ask you this one because I'm curious selfishly, but then again, I know that the season is coming upon us. You're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because I'm drinking a Gator cup, so you better not say anything about like March Madness season's coming upon us. Well, the Gators doing in basketball.
I just wonder.
You weren't going to say that, though.
No, I was not going to say that, but I just wonder, like, what's it like being a Gator? No, I'm just going to ask that question.
That's hilarious.
I do want to ask about the season of March and springtime and allergies. And the reason I'm asking this is, again, selfishly, because my eyes are starting to itch and I feel like my allergies are starting to act up, and so are other people. I've read it on the internet, which is true.
Always a good source.
What can people be doing right now in this very moment? And I know that it probably started a while ago that they should be doing stuff, but acutely, if they start getting itchy eyes and runny noses and the allergies, what can they do acutely?
Let me give you 3 things. One, consume lower histamine foods. So you can do an easy doctor internet search for low histamine foods and consume or just remove the higher histamine foods from your nutrition. 2, source some local honey and bee pollen. If you can't, then you can go to Beekeepers Naturals and buy their propolis throat spray and nasal spray.
They just got a nasal spray. I just saw that.
I use their nasal spray every day.
Wow.
It's a xylitol base, but it has propolis in it.
Everyone's going right now and Googling the nasal spray.
That's right. So that'd be the second thing. And then the third thing is sinus irrigation. Get some distilled water, right, salt, and And I usually throw a couple sprays of silver in there and then do some sinus irrigation daily.
Amazing. I'm going to go home and do that because they're starting to water a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Fasting, pillar of health, go.
Okay. Yeah. So let's define fasting.
Okay.
And this is what shocks most people when I talk to churches. Yeah. They think they're fasting. They are not.
Oh, I'm interested to know what the
Okay.
difference
So
is.
have you heard of a Daniel fast?
I have.
Okay. That's not a fast.
Okay.
So fasting is
Okay.
no food, period. What fasting is not is, well, I'm just going to avoid these certain foods. That's not fasting. You're just doing what we call nutritional restriction. You're restricting certain nutrients or maybe even not so good foods for you. So maybe you're just eating clean, but you're not fasting. Okay. Now, I'm not saying there's no benefit to that. It's extreme benefit. But if you talk about fasting, then let's talk about the same language. Okay. And the language is you are not consuming calories. There is no food coming in your system. You are just drinking water. Now we can get into semantics on it. Can I drink acaloric, green tea or coffee? And we can get into some specifics there. But let's just define fasting as what it is. It is no food intake. It is just consuming water for an extended period of time. Typically 24 to 72 hours. You can go up to 5 days, and there's some extreme health benefits there. And then you can even do what we call time-restricted feeding, which is what most people call intermittent fasting, but in reality, the better terminology for that is time-restricted feeding. And so you're reducing your feeding windows and extending your fasting windows, and that in turn will create some benefit, and it's good for some and it's not good for others. So that's what fasting is. It is, in the pure sense, no food, just water.
Would you say a lot of people think that they're fasting and they're not?
Yeah.
Is that what you...
That's the conversation I have a lot with churches is when they do we're going to do 28 days of prayer and fasting, you're like, yeah, you're not. You're doing 28 days of eating cleaner and removing vices out of your nutrition, which again is great. But don't call it 28 days of prayer and fasting. Call it 28 days of prayer and time restriction or food restriction in your nutrition.
Yeah, I did a 21 days of fasting in the beginning of the year, and I would tell people I gave up some certain things, and some people were like, you gave up food for 21 days? I was like, no, I did not. But we'll call it.
Yes.
I see what you mean on that one.
Yeah, so again, that's semantics, but it's important to define because that's our podcast today. We're talking about fasting. We're talking about no food consumption for a period of time.
Okay. When you hear that, when people hear no food, it goes counterculturally of what we've been taught or what we've been told. What's the most important thing we hit on next on the podcast for people to listen to know about?
America hasn't been around that long. Yet cultures have established fasting for thousands of years. So let's get it right. When we think about fasting, it is an ancient practice that unfortunately has not been adopted in our modern society because we're built off of overconsumption. We are being fed from marketing companies, whether it's Burger King, McDonald's on TV, or Big Pharma. We're being fed consume. More is better, when reality is it is not. If we really wanted to make a dent in COVID, if we really wanted to change the path of why people are dying, we would have said, let's fast, let's change our nutrition, and we, guess what, would have less outcomes of death associated with COVID. But no, we didn't. We said, hey, take this pill, take this shot, you're going to hopefully have a better outcome. The outcomes are pretty simple. If you don't have chronic disease, you're probably not going to die from COVID. Yet what causes chronic disease? Overconsumption of food, overconsumption of unnecessary, really nutritional empty calories. And so the way we have to look at fasting is it is a pillar of anti-aging, regenerative health creation that God designed your genes to perform under. Like it is inscripted within us that when we fast, there are genes that turn on that don't happen any other time. So we have to ask the question, if God did it, if God put it in there, and if Jesus says, when you fast, and you're not fasting, you're missing out on something that could be potentially massive for your health.
There's some times in these episodes that I feel like the listeners should go back and listen, but that was one of them. I just saw a lot of passion about 2.5 minutes into that. And because I think I've seen it since I've known you and, well, known of you too, and we've become friends. You practice this. You are practicing what you preach when it comes to fasting, because I've seen it. You will come and you'll say, I'm doing a 5-day or a 7-day, and I'm just like, man, I don't know. Okay, have fun with that one.
Yeah,
but you practice what you preach. So I would suggest the listener to go back and listen to what Dr. B just had to say there.
Again, the hard part, and here's, I really try to stay pretty anti-controversial when it comes to culture today and health. Like, I'm not.
Why?
I'm not.
Come on, man.
I'm not ripping up COVID. I'm not ripping up
you should.
Big Pharma and vaccines. And, I have a platform that I could easily do it on. But to me, I try to say, hey, let's live this way, and we won't have to be succumbed to this model.
Yeah, that's good.
And I try to preach from that model. I try to think of it like a Christ-like model. Okay. At times, I'm going to rip up some Pharisees and Sadducees like I just did, right? At times, you just want to lay into it because it's evil. It's really evil what we see in our society that we're just making money off of. It drives me crazy. But most of my message is kingdom come. Your will be done, right? Let's bring healing to this world. And so when we think about fasting, we can bring healing to our bodies because God designed our bodies to fast. And that's the beauty of it. We're designed for it.
Yeah. As far as understanding that our bodies are designed for that, and then you said that there are genes that get turned on. When you say, okay, let me ask you this question. What genes get turned? Is that too sciencey?
Yeah, it's probably too sciencey, but there's certain genes we call the sirtuin genes that get turned on when we fast that allow autophagy to happen, DNA repair to happen.
Autophagy? Just define that for the common listener.
Autophagic, so automatically eating your body. So phagic is eating, phagic cells, phagic eating, automatically. So what happens is when you start to fast, and this really happens about 14 hours in, your body...
And you're hungry.
That's right. Your body starts to activate these genetic expressions, these enzymes that then go and activate your immune system, start eating its bad areas of the body. So inflammation, scar tissue, damaged brain cells, damaged cells within your heart, damaged cells within your intestines. So this autophagy is this automatic cleanup designed, engineered by God to happen when you fast. So when we look at then pushing the window of autophagy out because we're increasing our fasting window into a day, 2 days, or even 5 days, this autophagy cleanup starts to really take storm, and we start to kill cancer cells, and we really clean up the body. Most of the cancer-based research is done by Dr. Thomas Seyfried. The book is called Cancer as a Metabolic Disease, and we see this phenomenal, cancer patient chemotherapy on a ketogenic, autophagy-based diet, and then even adding in some oxygen therapy through hyperbaric chamber. And we see this oxygenation, ketogenic, ketones, fasting has better outcomes than just that cancer patient doing chemotherapy. So that's one of the massive benefits to fasting is autophagy. And you can actually start getting into that about 14 hours in, and that's what most people would call intermittent fasting. But you also get other benefits. There's research shows it reduces C-reactive protein. This is an inflammatory marker for cardiovascular disease. So you can reduce cardiovascular disease outcomes by intermittent fasting or, extending that into multiple day fasting. So we get autophagy, we get reduction of C-reactive protein or inflammation, human growth hormone production. I know you've probably heard of growth hormone being increased with fasting. Well, we see this.
Why have I heard about it?
Huh?
Why have I heard about it?
Well, I just
Just kidding.
well, I just assume when we talk about
I'm kidding.
fasting, most people
I've heard a lot of it. Trust me.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
Most people think human growth hormone. This is one of the reasons I fast for healing and repair. Well, again, right about 14 hours, you start getting a massive surge of human growth hormone that then continues into as you extend your fast. So we get growth hormone production improvements, and
which
even-
is crazy because when you think about HGH,
Yep.
human growth hormone, which helps the body grow, and you think about our society when it comes to exercise and lifting and muscle gain, you would think that I've got to eat food to grow. But what you're saying is actually if you stop eating for a period of time, you're going to increase HGH, which then I know that when I have fasted, when I come back, I am stronger than when I started or when I did that, which is
Yeah.
crazy. It's not what we've been told.
Right. And human growth hormone also is just a clean up. It just helps clean up the body and heal the body. It is a grower, but it's a healer as well. And yeah, you can get massive surges of human growth hormone production that then continue in your bloodstream so that when you come off the fast, start fueling back and training, you get even a greater growth or proliferation of skeletal muscle.
That's incredible. With fasting, I do have a couple questions, and I want to make sure that we're not getting ahead of what these questions could be. But I mean, I know that when individuals hear fasting, and they do know that there are certain benefits from it, but you may have people that listen to this, and you may see people within your practice that you tell them fasting, and it's like, I can't do that. I'm hungry. I'm starving. I'll pass out. I can't do that. Why? What is it? I mean, we've been told to eat 3 meals a day every single day, have 2,000 calories, and you live a happy, healthy life. How do you consult, coach someone to say, no, like this is God's way. This is how you do this. This is why you should do this. Hey, you may not feel good for the first 12 hours, or walk us
Right.
through that a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So I would let's talk about the design of getting into extended fasts. We'll really talk about time restricted feeding, so intermittent fasting. We'll talk about trying to get to a 2 to 3 day, and then if you want to push it to a 5-day why. The caveat here is if you are diabetic, right, type 1, type 2, consult with your physician because you really need to watch your blood sugar levels. Now, fasting has a phenomenal effect on insulin resistance and blood sugar balance and handling, hormone resistance as a whole. So there are some fantastic benefits to fasting and pre-diabetes and insulin resistance. But if you are in the kind of the camp of this is so foreign new to you, don't go for a 3-day fast. Yeah, right. You're just going to set yourself up for failure. I remember, 15 years ago, I was like, I'm going to fast the first time. So I wanted to do what's called, it wasn't a true fast, it was Master Cleanse. So that's a gallon of water, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and a little maple syrup. You drink a gallon a day. So
Do you watch The Office?
No.
You don't watch The
Did
Office?
they do that?
I really hope that there's some listeners to this right now that exactly know why I asked that question.
That.
Yeah, Kelly fasted, and she did that, and
Okay.
it was a funny episode.
7 days in, man, I'm thinking, this is terrible. You're supposed to go 10 days.
I hope someone's laughing in the car or
man.
treadmill right now asking that question, thinking about her. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So
Go.
that was my first experience. I made it 7 out of 10 days. I think maybe, I don't remember, 8. And it was, I just didn't know what I was getting into. So, you just don't know what you're getting into if you haven't practiced. Fasting is a practice. It is a spiritual and health discipline that is refined the more you do it and over a period of time.
That's good.
Be gracious and look to fasting as a lifelong spiritual and health discipline. That's the first thing I'll tell you. The second thing is set yourself up for success. If you're used to cramming food in and not fasting, then let's start off with some time restricted feeding. Let's go 12 hours, which means you eat dinner at 6 p.m. and then you eat again at 6 a.m. Okay, because you might be used to snacking at 9 o'clock at night, so you just don't do that snack. Or maybe you stop food at 8 p.m. and then you have your first introduction of food at 8 a.m. And as you extend that window, the ideal would be trying to get closer to 14 to 16 hours. And as you get to 14 to 16 hours, then we start actually reaping some benefit to hormone resistance reversal. We start seeing some human growth hormone production. We start seeing some cellular repair through autophagy happen. So I would say practicing intermittent fasting is a good first step. Now, the caveat here again is intermittent fasting, prolonged intermittent fasting, which means daily, you have to be very careful because most of the time you're calorically restricting yourself. So who does this not work for? This honestly doesn't work great for females. I usually don't recommend intermittent fasting for females because moms are typically underfed already. And then they intermittent fast, they're removing that morning snack meal, and now they're even more underfed. That's going to starve their thyroid and their hormone system. And even research shows intermittent fasting prolonged works better for males than it does females.
Wow.
So I actually push most women to go more toward the 24-hour fast every couple weeks or once a month, going 48, 72 hours versus intermittent fasting on a regular basis.
What if that mother isn't and they're under eating the entire time? Do they first need to make sure that they're eating properly before they start fasting?
It's very important.
Does that make sense?
That the individual, again, that's why we're talking about pillars of health. And if you are in this fasting episode, listen to the nutrition and strength training episode.
Okay.
You got to feed your body before you fast your body.
That's good.
You're already fasting probably, so that means your body's already in this hibernation mode. If you've been doing that for years, your hormones are really getting pegged hard. So we need to nutritionally be sound before we start fasting. Okay.
Makes sense.
So that would be my recommendation there. And again, there's great literature to support the benefits of intermittent fasting, but it gets better when you start extending those fasting windows past 24 hours. That's really where the healing takes place, and that's what we were designed for.
Let me ask you this question real quick. What is happening to the individual at that moment that you may have a headache, you feel awful, you have not eaten, that because there is that moment. I know that I've lived that moment. What is that just your body saying, I need food? Like, what is that?
It is. It's blood sugar levels are dropping, and that's your energy substrate that you're used to. It's what your brain is used to using for energy. It's what your muscles are used to using for energy. So as your blood glucose levels drop because you haven't consumed any nutrition, then your body's trying to figure out what the heck to do.
Okay.
Right? And it's not used to probably stepping into fat burning and releasing fat as your storages as your primary source of fuel.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more glucose or carbohydrate dependent body. So you're really just dropping blood sugar. So as you get shaky, irritable, tired, fatigued, it's just like a ketogenic flu. As blood sugar levels drop, that's the symptoms that start to develop. If you extend your fast and then we start getting into 24 hours, that's really when blood sugar levels drop. And a lot of times between 24 to 48 hours is the hardest part of the fast. And that's when we start really getting hungry. Blood sugar levels really start dropping, and we're not into ketosis full-blown yet. We're not making enough ketones, and most people, if it's new, aren't used to making ketones. So there's a struggle there that if you can break through the second to third day, then 4 and 5 actually is the easiest. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
No, I've seen it done before, and it's remarkable to be around someone that's in that. You included, I've seen that. So, yeah, it's remarkable to see that.
So most people, we want to obviously start off with some intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Just to practice that once a week, extending your fasting from 14, 16, 18, maybe even 20 hours. And then once you do that, now we're set up to succeed in maybe every other week doing a 24-hour fast, which means dinner to dinner, 6 p.m. dinner, 6 p.m. dinner the next day, Saturday night, Sunday night. We're fasting 24 hours there. And once you start going 24-hour fast feeling good, now you're set up for that 48, 72, or even that 5-day. And literature shows that if you can do 2 3-day fasts a year or 1 5-day fast a year, you pretty much are establishing a body that's killing cancer and staying in a regenerative, anti-aging state. And that's really where we want to get to, right? It's not about intermittent fasting. It's about how can we set up our bodies for success to do that 3 to 5 day fast where we're killing cancer, creating autophagy, making human growth hormone, repairing our body, and doing what God designed our genes to do, which is heal.
That's so good. What you actually just answered my last question, so you have a feeling you know what I was going to ask next. But as far as the plan of a 12-hour fast or a 24-hour fast, you're saying that is the best way to do it. So you answered my question on that one.
Slowly just start building into it. Now,
Yeah.
here's something also important that most people don't realize is when you fast or when you go into ketogenic diets, your kidneys are secreting a ton of sodium, excreting a ton of sodium. You need a lot of sodium when you fast. Okay? So you're not just drinking a bunch of water. I want you to just be pounding sea salt.
Okay.
Literally by like putting it in your mouth, sea
Wow.
salt. Or take my favorite thing to do when I fast is take element packs that have 1,000 milligrams sodium. I usually do 3 to 5 a day of element packs.
So you can
3 to 1,000 to
consume something like that.
5,000 milligrams of sodium a day.
3 to 5. That's a good number.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything else that coffee, tea, stuff like that? I mean, what is approved that you would suggest or not suggest?
Yeah, right. So I truly don't think there's a negative impact on your health in terms of fasting, the negative impact on fasting with your health if you consume green tea or black coffee, as long as it's not toxic coffee.
I was about to say, you don't
clean,
want coffee,
organic,
yeah.
mold-free coffee. Yeah. The question I would ask you is, why aren't you giving it up? Right. And most people say, well, I'm addicted.
Yeah.
So the second question would be, okay, well, my suggestion would be if you want to break addictions, why not use this time to go without coffee and without green tea? And again, for me, I see it as a health discipline, but I also see it as a spiritual discipline. I'm trying to crucify my flesh as much as I can. I'm trying to say no to my flesh that wants things. I love food. I love coffee. I love green tea. I love these things. These are enjoyable for me. So for a season where I'm denying it, I'm also saying to my body and my flesh, hey, my spirit is stronger, and I'm saying no. And to me, that spiritual no is saying spiritually yes to God. And it's just a moment that I have when I fast that I try to restrict feeding my flesh any way I can.
Last question.
Okay.
I'm sitting across from you, patient. Someone's sitting across from you, okay? And they're tired. They don't have any energy. You name it.
Okay.
They want a pill, potion, or a lotion.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to say to them, hey, this fasting, this is what you should do. But they just don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
Well, if they don't want to, they're probably not going to sustain that plan. I'm going to try to convince them through just, I don't know, literature, man, that it's like, hey, this is something that is transformational. But I'll probably challenge them a little bit in the idea of, and this is the question I would ask lots of people when I sit down with them. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about what you want. Okay? It's okay, let's look at our family. Let's look at our kids. Let's look at something else outside of you. It has to be bigger than you. And we always go back to this, but what's your why? If your why behind what you do in regards to health is about you and your body and what it looks like and what it feels like, it'll fail you because your body will fail. It'll fall apart. But if your why is generational, if it's about your kids, it's about the Lord, it's about crucifying the flesh, spiritual discipline, if the why is bigger than you, then you'll be able to do anything. Okay. So you got to get a better why. And so if I challenge them and say, hey, is this about you? Is this about what you want? Okay, well, let's grow up. Let's step into this idea of it's not about you, and your health investments are for future generations to come.
I think you said it perfect.
Okay.
This isn't about you.
It's not about you.
Yeah,
Grow up.
Grow up. Fasting, pillar of health. This has been amazing. I think I'm going to go fast for 10 days because you told me so.
Let's go, baby.
But I would also...
Well, it's crazy because last year, fasting was our biggest episode that we did.
I know.
So if you want some more information, we did a 2-part series on fasting that has, between those 2 parts, 3,000 or 4,000 downloads. on those two alone. So
Yeah.
there's 2 episodes there that you can go back and refer to.
Yeah, this has been very valuable. Make sure that, again, you go back and listen to strength training or nutrition, and we suggest that you look into fasting because it is a phenomenal practice for your pillar of health. Dr. B, thanks so much. We'll see you next episode where I'm sure you'll have some more value to bring. Anything else you want to add for the listeners?
No, we're great, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for listening to the Real Health Podcast with Dr. B. Before you hit exit, hold on 2 seconds. It would really mean a lot to us if you went over to Apple, you scrolled all the way to the bottom, and you left a 5-star review and a 5-star rating, because Dr. B is a 5-star person and a 5-star practitioner. Make sure you go do that. That really helps. And we will see you next time on the Real Health Podcast with Dr. B. Before you hit X, hold on 1 second. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the podcast today with Dr. B. 2 things that would really help the Real Health Podcast movement. 1, share it on your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, wherever you're on a social network. And 2, if you go to Apple Podcast and you scroll down, give us a 5-star rating and give us a review. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you next episode.